And it was just another day, yeah.
Just another day.
Until I went to the movies, and now it's a movie Tuesday. A movie Tuesday. Until a movie Tuesday.
Hello, and welcome to Movie Chewsday. It's a day where I sit in front of the camera and I give you all the news, the trailers, and the movies. I'm going to warn you right now, there's something wrong with me. I mean, there's always been something wrong with me, but I mean, like, right now, I don't know if I'm sick. Oh, Jesus. Sorry. I don't know if I'm sick or if I'm tired. I just know that I feel like shit for some reason. So, warn you, I'm going to be drinking a mysterious soda that I don't want to reveal because they don't exactly pay me to be drinking this the way I do right now. So, hopefully, that'll kick in by the time we get more into the shit. Until then, you just gotta like hold on to your butts. All right, let's get to the news. Coming over from IGN. Now I'm hoping I pronounce this man's name right because the way it's spelled is Tobe. So I kind of want to say Tobe, but I think his name is Toby, and they just got it spelled a unique way. But I'm gonna say Toby. Tobe Hooper passed away recently at the age of 74 from natural causes. Now, I was not aware of who this man was. I was aware of his work after I read the story. Believe it or not, yes, I do watch a lot of movies. Yes, I do. I feel like I have an encyclopedic knowledge of movies. I mean, if you were ever on a game show and you had like a movie question, you could probably call me up and I'd probably give you the right answer. You know, I feel very confident in that. But I don't know everything there is to know about movies, surprisingly. Okay? So there's some people's names that just don't roll off of the tongue or immediately pop into my head. So when I saw this dude passed away, what caught my eye is that he was a director. So I'm like, oh, you know, this is about movies. Like, let me check and see what this guy's been or what this guy used to do. So he was responsible for movies like Salem's Lot and Poltergeist, and most importantly for me, what got my attention, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So here's the thing. Like I said, I'm not really familiar with this guy's work, or I'm not really familiar with him as a person or as a director, but I'm very familiar with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one. So in Milwaukee, back in Milwaukee, there's this little movie theater that plays these old movies. I can't remember exactly where it is, but for some reason I do want to say that it was on North Avenue. Probably like, I don't know, like ballpark, I'd say like maybe 50th or maybe like 47th in North Avenue. But it was this little theater, like little marquee theater, right? And they would play all these old movies and shit, and then they would have like certain themes, like I think around like Christmas time they play like old Christmas movies. So around the time when the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre was getting ready to come out, the one with Jessica Biel, this theater ended up showing the original. I can't remember what year it was. I know it was in the 70s, but I don't remember exactly the 70s it was. But they were playing the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So me and my friends were all like, oh man, like we should go see that before we go see the new one, man, so we could pay homage to the classics, right? So one night we all got together, we went to the movies, we went to go see it. I remember one specific part that like creeped me the fuck out. Like I like the way it was shot. And it's the part where the guy like you know, the part where, you know, the room where Leatherface stays in, where it has a sliding door. It was the part where the dude hears like the weird sounds coming from behind the door, and he goes and checks it out. and Leatherface just like knocks him over the head with a hammer, and his body's all like twitching and shit. And he's on the floor like twitching and everything, and it's like, and they show this shot on the doorway where he just like grabs a dude, drags him into the room, and he just slams the door shut, and then it just goes to the next scene. It's something about that scene that just like, it really just creeped me out, and I was like, man, it's stuck in my brain like even till this day. And when the remake eventually came out, we all went to go see that, and then they did the same scene. They didn't shoot it the same way, but like they did the whole thing where he knocks him over the head, or I don't think he knocked him over the head, but he did like drag a guy into the room, and he like slid the door closed, but he did like really slow. And I was just like, yeah, the original did that scene a lot better, but that's all I got as far as like the work that this man has done. I don't think I've seen all of Poltergeist. I haven't seen Salem's Lot. That's not ringing the bell at all, but that's about as much respect as I can pay the man. That's what I can recall in my brain. But rest in peace. R.I.P. to Tobe Hooper. Make sure you all pour one out and reel one up for him. So, thoughts and condolences go out to his friends and family, of course. Now, moving on, sticking with IGN. I always want to say EGM for some reason, but I mean, I guess it's because they're both acronyms and shit, but whatever. Sticking with IGN, James Cameron has been talking some shit. So, I was under the impression that he's just been under the sea filming Avatar movies this whole time, but either somebody shot a copy of Wonder Woman down to his sub, or he just like surfaced and made port on a dock somewhere and went to a movie theater and watched Wonder Woman. But he had some things to say about it. Basically the gist is that he was saying that Wonder Woman, because he was talking about like how Hollywood's doing this whole like pat on the back for how well the movie's doing, and he said that the movie is actually a step backwards because she's like an objectified icon. And he was like saying how she doesn't really command the audience's respect, or she doesn't earn the audience's respect the way Sarah Connor did. Like, he started directly comparing her to Sarah Connor in the Terminator movies, Terminator 2 specifically. And he was just like, he was saying how like Sarah Connor wasn't a beauty icon, and she was strong, and she was troubled, and she was a terrible mother and shit, but like she like earned the audience's respect for being a badass female character, right? Like a strong female character. He said that she earned the respect through true grit. So yeah, so that was what he said. And my first thought about that is well, it's actually my second thought, but just a little, side note. He said that she was a terrible mother, Sarah Connor. Was she? Cause I don't know, didn't she like devote like a lot of her time to trying to get her son prepared for Judgment Day so he could lead the resistance? How does that make you a bad mom? I mean, I know she went to the insane asylum, so maybe she got like a little rough with him or whatever. I don't know, but I don't know. When I think of Sarah Connor, I don't think of her being a bad mom per se. She was a badass though. But anyway, the thing is with what I think he's trying to say is that the only reason why people like Wonder Woman so much is because of her being attractive, is what it sounds like. And it sounds like he's saying that, you can't be a strong female protagonist or a strong female character if you're hot, is pretty much what I interpreted from his comments about Wonder Woman. So I don't know, that's kind of weird. I mean, personally, for me, I mean, I've already said, like back when I reviewed Wonder Woman, is that I liked Gal Gadot's performance of the character. Like, she sold me on the Wonder Woman character, but she didn't sell me on the look of Wonder Woman. Like I said, I think Gal Gadot's hot. I think I'm saying that right? Gal Gadot, yeah. I think she's hot, but at the same time, like she did deliver on the action. Like my only gripe with her is that she looks like a twig in the Wonder Woman costume, and I just wish she would like tone up just a smidge. Like she don't need to be fucking cotton diesel or anything. She just needs to like get a little more definition in her body, or maybe they need to just shrink the costume down a little bit because she just looks like a twig in there. Don't get me wrong, she's very attractive, but I was sold on her character. I was already sold on the action and the physicality that she brought to the role because I've seen Gal Gadot or Gal Gadot in the Fast and Furious movies, you know, so like I know she can bring the action when it calls for it, and she definitely brought it in this movie. So I don't necessarily agree with his whole claim of people not taking her seriously because she's like super high. Like that's weird. And honestly, I don't think you need to be like a damaged person or a damaged woman to be like a strong female character in the movies and shit. Like I think that's a weird thing for him to say if that's what he's trying to get across. Like I don't agree with that. Charlize Theron actually like commented on something like that similar a while back with Atomic Blonde, where she was saying that her character was an enigma, but like at the end of the day, her character is a badass because she's just a badass. It has nothing to do with her like having like a fucking miscarriage or her husband getting murdered, and that's what inspired her to become like a fucking agent or whatever like that. It was just that she's just this agent who's very good at her job. You know what I mean? And it's been taking a toll on her, which is why she's so stoic. But at the end of the day, like when it comes time to do her job, she can do her job. It has nothing. She doesn't have like weird motivations like trying to avenge her daughter's death or some stuff like that. Like so, and so yeah, and that's just how, you know. And Wonder Woman isn't like that either. Like she's a fucking Amazon. She was born to kill gods. Like what's it doesn't get any more badass than that. Just because she's hot doesn't take away from her badassery, in my opinion. I feel like there are different types of strong females in movies or just in the entertainment medium in general. It doesn't necessarily always have to be that they have to be ugly or that they have to be like big and bulky and muscular and shit, or have like big ass tits or some shit. Like there's different forms of strong women out there, you know. Like you have people like Sigourney Weaver in Alien, where her character Ripley, her character is just like a regular person whose survival instincts kicked in when shit had hit the fan on the spaceship, you know? Like that's why her character's a badass. You know, you have people like Sarah Connor who went through a traumatic experience in the first movie and obviously was tired of being the helpless damsel in distress and ended up becoming a badass in the next movie, you know, Terminator 2. You know what I mean? So like you got that, and then you got people like Wonder Woman who were like bred, you know, who were taught since birth to be like dope ass fighters and strategists and shit, so that when the day came for them to take on the horrors of the world like Ares or whoever else, like they're ready to do it. Like that, they have people like that. But then you also have people like Harley Quinn, where yeah, they dress slutty, they dress up in revealing clothing, but at the same time, Harley Quinn is a type of strong female character where they know how to use their sexuality to throw people off guard to then strike. You know what I mean? Now, granted, that doesn't necessarily jive well in a younger audience. Like I guess you don't want like your young daughter or whoever to see like Harley Quinn and kind of like be like, oh, that's my inspiration. You know, like that's too young for them. But that's all the more reason why a movie like Suicide Squad or just any movie that has Harley Quinn in that fashion should be at a high rating like PG-13 or R rating. I would say an R rating just to be safe, but you know, I don't know. There's different types of strong females in my opinion, you know, and that's just been met with criticism a lot from other people too, because I can't remember who it was, but there was like criticism for Harley Quinn where they didn't like how she dressed slutty, and that wasn't like an empowering character for them. And I was just like, you know, I'm like, I don't, you know, I'm a guy, so I guess I don't completely understand what, you know, it means to be a fucking woman or what it means to be a strong woman. But I don't know, just from my experience, I would say, like I said, like it's just a woman who knows how to use her sexuality. What's wrong with that? You know what I mean? It's just there's different types of people. You know, you got, you know, it's the same thing with men. You got big ass burly dudes like Arnold Schwarzenegger who run around with big ass guns shooting shit, but then you got scrawny people like Bruce Willis running around jumping off of buildings while they're exploding and everything. And it's like they're both badasses in their own right. You know what I mean? And then you have people like what's a family movie? I don't know, Mr. Mom. You know, you got people like Mr. Mom, you know, taking care of. I haven't seen Mr. Mom in so long. I need a better analogy. There's another one. The Family Man. Remember The Family Man, where Nicolas Cage went from a playboy to a family man. He took care of his family and shit. Didn't drive around in Ferraris. Like, that's a badass man right there too. A man that takes care of his family, doesn't run out for a pack of smokes when a kid's born. You know, so different types. Okay, but anyway, Patty Jenkins had you know, the director of Wonder Woman. Obviously, she responded to this whole thing, and she kind of said the same thing that I just said, but in a more respectful yet still kind of stern way, which is cool and all, but she would have went up a lot of notches in my book if her response would have just been, motherfucker, go back in your submarine and finish filming Avatar movies and don't worry about my motherfucking movie. Let me worry about my goddamn movie, okay? Like, if that would have been her response, I would have been like, yeah, dog. It's like, Patty Jenkins is the homie now. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, she didn't do that because, you know, everybody wants to be all fucking pristine and shit. But anyway, the fuck do I know? This next story, courtesy of just a shitload of sources. We got Screen Rant, as usual. We got IGN, got LA Times, pretty much any fucking publication you can think of. Like, everybody's jumping on this shit right now, and I'm about to jump on it myself. Ed Skrein, pretty sure that's how it's pronounced. You may know him as Dario from Game of Thrones, the original one before they like changed him out. He was also the Transporter in Transporter Refueled, and he was recently Francis, aka Ajax, in the Deadpool movie. So he was cast in the new Hellboy movie that they're currently working on right now, or getting ready to work on. He was cast in the movie, but then he, shortly after being cast, he dropped out of the movie due to controversial casting. And for all you listeners out there, I put controversial in quotes. So he was cast to play this character, and is by the name of Major Ben Daimio, which is the original conception of the character in the comic books, in the Hellboy comics. Major Ben Daimio is he's an American. He's a Japanese American, so he's got like a Asian heritage with his character, right? So Ed Skrein got the part, and then, you know, it got announced that he's gonna be in a movie. This is who he's gonna play. And then all of a sudden, there was all like this backlash from people, you know, saying, you know, like making accusations of whitewashing, you know, happening again in Hollywood, right? So he was so he ended up like seeing all this, and he ended up doing research on the character, because when he got the part, he didn't know the origins of the character. He didn't know the original conception. He got a part on a movie. So he did some research, and he found out that the character was a Japanese American. And then after he found all that stuff out, he ended up dropping out of the movie, and he wrote this letter up and he was like, "Hey, my bad. Like, I got the part for this movie. I didn't know I didn't know the origins or the history of the part. And after doing some research, I found out some information on this character that I was going to play. And I realized that me taking this part takes away from the possibility of an Asian actor actually like playing this part for themselves. So I'm going to drop out and hope that the filmmakers like do extra casting and be a little bit more diligent with trying to find the right character to suit this role, right?" So, he did that. He put it out on Twitter, and his Twitter just starts fucking blowing up, dude, with everybody just being like, "You're my hero. You're an example. Hollywood needs to be following this example. This is a first step in the eliminating whitewashing in Hollywood." Just all kinds of stuff like this, right? So, like, here's the thing. First of all, if this was a decision that he came to on his own and like in his own belief system, like he felt like this was the right thing to do, then I guess I could respect that. If it's something that he got bullied into, like it's just he was probably getting harassed by people so much about this whole thing that he just felt, okay, like fuck it, like I'm gonna drop out. Please leave me alone. Please don't hurt me. If it was something like that, that's sad. You know what I mean? But here's the thing, okay? Anyone who's like upset or who got upset about this whole situation, anyone who's outraged at this, this whole thing, that's fine, dude. That's, you can feel however you want. I don't have any problem with that. All I ask is that you get more consistent with your outrage. That's all I'm asking, okay? And what I mean by that is this, because like I said, this dude is, he put the letter out on Twitter. Everybody's like praising him and giving him pats on the back and shit like that, just going all over, people talking about, oh, I'm Asian and I think this is a step in the right direction. I appreciate you doing that. Just all this stuff, right? So I went on Twitter. All right, I put my Twitter account on the front lines. I was mentally prepared to just like have my phone blow up for the rest of my life with people just saying how much I'm an idiot and I'm racist and all this other shit, right? I was mentally prepared for this shit. So I replied on his Twitter along with everyone else, and I asked a simple question. I was like, why is it cool for people to want Idris Elba to play as James Bond? Like, they want him to be the next James Bond. This is before Daniel Craig confirmed that he was going to come back for one last movie. Before that happened, there's like a grip of people who would always just be like, I would love Idris Elba to be the next James Bond. That'd be awesome. It's time for a black James Bond, right? So I was like, why is it cool for everybody to want Idris Elba to be the next James Bond, but it's not cool for this dude to play a character in the movie that was originally Asian? It's like, that was the only thing I asked. I'm not getting snarky. I'm not like trying to be confrontational or anything like that. It was a legit question because I just wanted to know, because I'm so confused on these whole accusations of whitewashing in Hollywood, right? Unfortunately, well, I won't say unfortunately. Fortunately for me, I don't know whether people just outright ignored my tweet or if they read it and didn't want to acknowledge it, like whatever. But all I know is like my phone is not blowing up with hate coming my way or anything like that, okay? So I guess I like dodged a bullet, but it's still out there for people to see. So if you still want to answer my question, it's there and I'm waiting. But no one replied to it. So then there's like all these news stories coming out now that are talking about like what he did, and they're talking about how he did the right thing, and this is what other actors need to do when they get cast in the roles that weren't meant for a white person and stuff like that. Like they really like they buried not buried it. They pinned it down to one specific case where it's just white actors playing roles that are for more like ethnic characters, where like the original conception was an ethnic character, a person of a different race, a person that wasn't white. You know, they were directing it towards that. And they were talking about how like, oh, more actors need to start doing this. Like why didn't Scarlett Johansson do this in Ghost of the Shell? Why didn't Nat Wolff do this in the Death Note movie and stuff, right? So they're like saying all these things, and I'm just reading it, and I'm like, okay. So I find people on Twitter that wrote the article, and I'm like, and I reply to them on their Twitter, and I'm like, hey, I read your article, didn't really agree with it. Are you, so like judging from what you said, does this mean that Will Smith should give up the role of Deadshot in the next Suicide Squad movie, or just give up the role of Deadshot, period? No response, nothing. I got nothing. Okay. Once again, like, I don't know if I just got ignored or if it just went into the fucking void. Like, I have no idea what happened, but it's out there. No one's answering my question. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is there is no whitewashing in Hollywood, in my opinion. Okay, when you got people like Will Smith, who's playing a character whose original conception was he was a white guy. Like Deadshot is a white guy in the comics, okay, and Will Smith's playing him in the movies. Like, why isn't anyone having an uproar for that? Like, that's what I don't get. Like, I understand the situation with Ed Skrein. I understand that whole situation where it's a character of Asian descent. So you would hope that the filmmakers did a casting call for Asian people. Like, they kept it open to everybody, but you would hope that they did do auditions with Asian actors. And maybe they just didn't find the person that they were looking for, so they ended up just going and changing the ethnicity of the character, and they gave it to Ed Skrein. Like, hopefully that's how it went down. Hopefully it just wasn't a room full of white dudes like auditioning for a role that was for an Asian character. I understand what you're saying. There's not a lot of Asian characters out there to get cast in movies, so it's like, try and give them a bone when you can. You know what I mean? I understand, but at the same time, there's been cases where characters' ethnicities have been rewritten in the movies, okay? Deadshot is one of them. There's another one that's about to happen next year, which is the character Domino in Deadpool 2. I heard and read that Domino is originally white. I mean, I don't know, like maybe she could be something else, but I know for sure that she wasn't black. The only thing black on her was the black spots on her face and everything. But now they're making a movie version of her in the Deadpool movie, and they got a black actor playing that character, Zazie Beetz. I mean, yeah, she's half German, but she's also half African American as well. So if so facto, she's black. She's a black German, if you want to get technical with it. But either way, the character was originally white. There was a TV show. It was an American version of Sherlock Holmes. It was called Elementary. And Watson was played by Lucy Liu. So, I mean, where was the outrage with all that? So that's what I'm saying about, you just need to be consistent with your outrage, okay? It's like, you can't just like try and fucking X out all the white actors from Hollywood, because that's what it sounds like people are calling for, because there's so many people who are just like, oh, it's all this whitewashing going on, but Will Smith pops up as Deadshot and everybody's like, yeah, like, Will Smith's awesome, and Deadshot's awesome too, that's great, and people are doing interviews with him, and he's talking about how excited he is to like be the first person to like set the bar for how Deadshot should be portrayed in a movie. You know what I mean? Which is great. That's a great thing to hear. You know, there is no controversy of, well, you know, you do know that your character was white, right? And you're black, so how does that work? You know what I mean? Like I didn't run into anything like that when that casting call was made, and I still haven't run into it when they confirmed that he was going to be back for Suicide Squad 2. So I'm like, just consistency, people. Like, let's just fuck. You know what I mean? But anyway, the bottom line, what I'm trying to say is that there's, you know, I don't feel like there's whitewashing in Hollywood. If anything, there's star washing, okay? Practically all the motherfuckers in Marvel are getting all these movie roles outside of Marvel. You know what I mean? Because directors are trying to put asses in the seats. They're trying to get that synergy where it's like, oh, you know, remember this guy that played Captain America? Well, now he's in this movie. You should go check him out in this. You know what I mean? Instead of like getting a more up and coming actor, like somebody else who actually needs a paycheck and not somebody who's like guaranteed getting like millions of dollars doing Marvel movies and shit. You know what I mean? Like, so my whole thing is, I feel like I would accuse Hollywood of star power or of star washing before I accuse them of whitewashing, because I feel like it is like heavy handed. Like there are a lot of like white actors getting parts that like were originally for ethnic people, but there's still like there's still people of color or different ethnicities that are taking over roles where they were originally for white people. You know what I mean? So I feel like you got to give and take. You got to actually like live up to the term diversity. Like, everybody wants the movies to be more diverse and shit like that. And it's like, you can't be diverse if you're Xing out one group of people. You know, that's all I'm really trying to get at here. Cause see, me personally, I'm all about the fucking essence of a character, okay? I don't really care if you cast a black dude, a white dude, a Puerto Rican dude, a Japanese dude. Just get the part right. Like, get the right actor for the job is all I care about. So, like, for example, Tom Hardy, right? Tom Hardy was Bane in Dark Knight Rises. I didn't hear any kind of uproar from that. Because for those of you who don't know, Bane in the comics, his original like conception as a character is that he's Hispanic, okay? But for some reason, you got Tom Hardy to play him in The Dark Knight Rises. Before that, you got some other white dude to play Bane in the Batman and Robin movie. But once again, I don't remember hearing any kind of uproar going on when that shit was going down. But anyway, back to the story. Tom Hardy gets cast as Bane. They announce it. They're like, you know, like Christopher Nolan, he's doing another Batman movie. He's going to finish out the trilogy. And, you know, Tom Hardy's going to be Bane. First thing that runs through my head is I'm like, I don't know about that, dude. I was like, Tom Hardy's kind of a scrawny little dude, you know, because I was like coming fresh off of him in Rock and Rolla. So that was like the image that I had of him in my head. So I'm like, I don't see him as Bane, right? Couple months down the line, they ended up releasing a picture of him with like the Bane mask and everything, and he was all yoked up. He had his back to the camera, and it was like, yeah, it's like he put on like so and so many pounds, and he fucking hit the gym. It's like, and he's ready to be Bane. And I was like, yeah, he is fucking Tom Hardy to God. Like he is Bane. I gotcha. You know what I mean? Fucking movie comes out, they're hitting the whole essence of Bane. See, for me, the essence of Bane is that it is this big, bulky, muscular dude whose intelligence level is either at the same level as Batman's, if not higher. Like, that is the appeal of Bane. That is the true essence, the superior essence of Bane for me. Okay? So the movie starts. You know, Bane's making moves. He's fucking staging people's deaths, throwing off the police. He's throwing off Batman. He's figuring out Batman's identity. He's running up in his house, stealing all of his shit. Fucking beats the shit out of Batman, breaks his back, and throws him down the well. Just doing everything that Bane should be doing, right? Everything is good. Get to the end of the movie, and they do the plot twist. Fuck you and your goddamn spoilers. If you ain't seen it by now, you ain't never gonna see it. They get to the end of the movie, they do the plot twist, and it's Talia al Ghul talking about, hey, you know all that shit that Bane did in the beginning of the movie? That was all me, goddammit. I was getting revenge from my dad. Bane, that's just my fucking muscle. You know, he's in love with me and he'll do whatever I say. That's it. I was like, you just fucking shit all over this goddamn character. Like, that was where I started getting fucking mad, okay? Now, I didn't, like, give out any death threats. I didn't tweet anyone saying you fucked up this character. It was just one of those things where if people asked my opinion on the movie, I would be like, you know, Bane was cool until they did that plot twist and they just fucked his entire character up. They ruined the essence of Bane. They just turned him into another muscle-bound henchman, you know? They took it all away from him. That was what I was pissed off at. I wasn't pissed off at the fact that Tom Hardy, a white British man, was playing a role that should have went to an Hispanic person. Like, I didn't care, all right? Because I'm all about the right person for the job, you know? Now, are there some characters whose ethnicity can't be touched? Yes, there is. I feel like, you know, for example, Black Panther and Falcon, you can't cast anybody but a black person in those roles. Why? Because they hold the title for being, what is it? Black Panther Black Panther just in general, they, you know, Stan Lee and whoever else created him kind of wrote themselves into a corner. Like, they kind of future-proofed that character to just be played by black people because he's got black in his name. But other than that, I guess Black Panther was like the first black superhero in mainstream comics. And then Falcon was the first African-American superhero in mainstream comics. So I feel like that is a huge part to their characters. That is an essence to their character. So, like, if you were to get like a fucking Brad Pitt or a Zac Efron to play the role of Falcon or Black Panther, then I can understand the fucking rage, you know, people getting pissed off and claiming whitewashing and shit like that. Then we'd have something to talk about when it came to the term whitewashing. But other than that, dude, like, it's just, my whole thing is you got to get the right man or woman for the job. I don't care what their ethnicity is, just get the part right. Just get the character right for the movie is all I care about. But if y'all out there want to be like, nah, dude, you got to get the fucking essence. You got to get the true superior essence of the character. Like, inside and out. They got to look like that character from the comics, and they got to fucking act like that character from the comics. And if we're going to go that route, if we're going to go to that extreme, you got to go all the way, goddammit. And you know what that means to go all the way? That means that you got to hit up Tom Holland, and you got to be like, hey, man, you can't be Spider-Man anymore, okay? You're done, because you're British, and Spider-Man's a fucking American, so you can't be Spider-Man. You got to hit up Andrew Lincoln, and you got to be like, hey, you can't be Rick Grimes, man. You can't be Rick Grimes, because Rick Grimes is a red-blooded American, and you're fucking British. You don't have a country draw. Get the fuck out of here. Like, you got to go to those extremes if you're going to be that fucking strict on the casting of a character and trying to match that up with the source material, you know? You got to, like, hit up Lakeith Stanfield, who recently tweeted out that he's interested in playing the Joker in that solo Joker movie that Martin Scorsese and Todd Phillips are going to be working on. Like, he's interested in being a Joker. You got to hit up him and be like, hey, you can't be the Joker because the Joker's white. Like, his original conception is he's white and you're fucking black. So you can't do that. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're going to be that strict, you need to go the whole way. And that's what I mean about being consistent. Okay. So drop all this shit about like whitewash and everything like that. Okay. Just cut it out. All right. Knock it off. I mean, what's done is done. What Ed Skrein did is done. That's his choice. But don't like be fucking fingering people like Scarlett Johansson and shit, talking about, oh, you should have dropped your part. You shouldn't have been in Ghost in the Shell. Bitch, Ghost in the Shell was an American remake of the Ghost in the Shell manga / anime movie. Okay, it was an American remake, so of course they got Scarlett Johansson to play the character. And if you watch the fucking movie, her character was still Asian in the end. Spoiler alert, fuckers. But anyway, that's all I got to say on that. I'm tired of these accusations about fucking whitewashing and shit. It's just people throwing out buzzwords and following the rest of the herd like the sheep that you are. You know, you need to stop doing that. You need to get your own opinions, and you need to like take a step back and really think about what you're saying in this shit. Now, if Ed Skrein would have like went to an audition for the role of Ben Daimio, and they told him to fucking pull his eye, like pull the corners of his eyes back and talk in an Asian accent, like then we'd have something to talk about. Then we'd have something to get pissed off about. But like I said, I'm pretty sure, I would like to hope that they casted him and they were just like, you know, this is my vision of how I see this character. I know that he is of Japanese descent in the comic books, but like this dude right here is the vision that I have for this character. So I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to change this up. But at the end of the day, Will Smith is Deadshot, so try not to fucking chop my balls off too hard. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I like to think about it. But anyway, I think I've rambled on enough about that, so let's get on to the trailers. All right. First up, got this movie called What Happened to Monday. It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix movie, Netflix original, starring Noomi Rapace. I have no idea how to pronounce her last name. I'm pretty sure. I've been saying Rapace this whole time, so hopefully that's how it is. Noomi Rapace, Glenn Close, and Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe has been pretty busy. He was in fucking Death Note. He's in this movie, and then I saw some trailer of him at like some movie that takes place at a motel or some shit like that. But you know, he's been a busy man lately. But anyway, What Happened to Monday? It looks like a pretty interesting movie. So it takes place in like this dystopian world where they kind of have like those fucking China rules where you can only have one kid, you can't have more than one. I mean, I don't know how strict it is over in China, but I'm gonna assume in this movie, if you have more than one kid, they'll fucking kill their siblings. You know what I mean? So you just have one. So somehow Willem Dafoe's character ends up having 7 kids at once. What's the name for that? It's not quintuplets, is it? Is it quin? Because octuplets is 8. I wanted to say it's quin. Whatever, 7 tuplets. That's a new word, 7 tuplets. But anyway, he has 7 kids. They're all girls. He names one of them, like gives one of them a legit name, but then he names all the other ones after the days of the week. So what's happening in the movie is that when the kids are at home, they're all good, they're legit, they're hanging out and shit, they're having fun, blah, 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 blah. But when they go outside, they got to go outside as one person. So like every day they will have a kid go out and they'll be the person that actually got the name. So like their name is Monday, they go out on Monday, but their name is what they named the one girl out of the group. So anyway, during 1 week after shit's been going well for so long, Monday doesn't come home. She goes missing in action. And we got a problem because I don't know if there's some kind of like curfew or whatever, but it's one of the things where they can't really go out because they'll get caught, because I guess they got like these little ID scanner things that scan their biometrics and it tells who they are. So they can't like really go out and look for her. But then I guess the government starts getting wind that that Willem Dafoe's character had more kids, so I think they go like an investigate or something, is what it looks like in the trailers. And then the girls all end up like just being like, fuck it, we're about to go out there and we're about to look for this chick and bring her home, So it looks pretty interesting. I want to check it out. I'm very interested to see how it gets resolved in the end, because I mean, I feel like the only way it could end is that they just fucking tear down the system, because that's usually what happens. But it'd be funny if they could get to a point where they just get everybody back in the house and they go back to being one person again. Like, I don't know. But it looks interesting. I want to check it out. I'll definitely be doing that this weekend when I get some time. Yeah, it's out right now. It's on Netflix. So why don't you check it out, and then we'll meet back here sometime next week, and then we'll talk about it. How about that? Does that sound good? It's a date. All right. Next up is Death Wish. So I had to look up this trailer online, because when I went to the movies recently, I saw a poster for the movie, and it said Bruce Willis, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, what is this about? So I ended up looking at the trailer, and Death Wish is about Bruce Willis being some dude who some people like broke into his house and they killed his wife. I don't know if they killed his daughter. I think his daughter's still alive, but they ended up killing his wife, and he's all like, obviously he's pissed off about it, so he like goes on a fucking rampage trying to find the people that killed his wife, and then in the process he's helping other people who have problems. So he ends up becoming like this badass vigilante that runs around just shooting like bad people, like dispensing justice wherever he goes. So he's kind of like the Punisher when you think about it. But yeah, all I got to say is Bruce Willis is back, baby. He's back in the action seat. I thought I could have sworn I remember reading some article a while back where he wanted to take a break from action movies, but now he's back, and I'm excited. So unfortunately, it doesn't come out until November 22nd. So got some time before that actually comes out, but I will definitely be going to see that in theaters, and I expect to see Bruce Willis jumping around, shooting shit out of people. I mean, it's kind of different from John McClane, because John McClane not only just shoots at people, but he's also like shooting cars and fucking dropping bombs on people's heads and sending them through meat grinders and shit. This just looks like it's gonna be Bruce Willis running around shooting people up. I mean, not necessarily John Wick style. I don't think he's like doing any martial arts or anything like that, but just him running around fucking shooting up shit. And I can't wait. So yeah, Death Wish. Speaking of things with the word death in the title, let's just go ahead and get to the movies now, shall we? Death Note. I watched it over the weekend. So before we even get into it, let me just give full disclosure here. I love Death Note. I've seen the anime numerous times. I've never read the manga. I've never seen the live action movies. I just started watching the there's like a live action show of Death Note on Crunchyroll, and I just started watching that. I'm probably like 1 or 2 episodes in. It's pretty decent so far. But other than that, like I love Death Note, hands down. If I had like a top, I mean, I do have a top 3 of like greatest anime to me, and Death Note is definitely in that top 3. Like, that's how much I like it. Now, do what you will with that information as we move forward. So here's the thing about the Death Note movie. When you directly compare it to the anime, the movie is kind of shit. But I feel like you need to watch the movie as is. You need to take it as what it is, which is its own thing, and just lightly compare it to the source material, which is like how you should view the movie, which I feel is one of my specialties when it comes to talking about movies. I'm able to like differentiate them for the most part. So here's the thing. Directly comparing it to the anime, movie's not that great. If you watch it as its own thing, it's okay. it's just all right. So like my biggest gripe with the movie is that they kind of rush through it in the beginning. Like they rush through a lot of important parts that I feel are essential to Death Note. Like there's an essence to what makes Death Note great. And to me, that essence is two people who are like trying to figure out each other's identities and stop each other. That is the essence of Death Note for me. And they do this in the movie, but they kind of like brush past it. And it's one of those things where I really wish that the movie had an extra 30 minutes, maybe even like 40 minutes or so to kind of like just let a couple of things breathe in the movie. I think like the runtime on it at the moment is, I want to say it's like an hour and 40 minutes. So like, yeah, I definitely think if they would have went a little past the 2 hour mark, they could have like made this movie go from being okay to great. So like, with an extra 30 or 40 minutes, they could have like they could have dove more into Light learning how to use the Death Note, like how it actually works, because that's an interesting part from the source material that wasn't really explored that much in the movie. I mean, they explore it throughout the movie, but like not the way that they should have to make it flow a little better. Another thing that they rushed was him getting his girlfriend involved in his whole crusade. Like they kind of like rushed through that. Like it was one of those things where it happened, like he gets the book and it's almost like he immediately just like runs up to her and is just like, "Hey, want to fucking do this with me?" Like it was one of those, it was just really weird the way they did it. The other thing that they rushed was him actually becoming Kira. So for people who don't know, people who never even heard of Death Note, like this is what the movie's about. The movie is about this dude who gets a book, and when he writes a name in the book, he like people die. So like if he writes someone's name and has their face in his brain when he's writing the book, or when he's writing in the book, the person will die like 40 seconds later. And he ends up using this power to kill criminals around the world. And while he's doing this, he ends up getting attention from like law enforcement, and the cases are so bizarre that law enforcement calls in a private investigator who's like super smart, and he like helps the police try and capture the fucking killer, the guy writing the names in the books, right? So that's what Death Note is about. And then it turns into this whole thing of the character with the book, Light, is trying to figure out who the detective is, who goes by the name of L. He's trying to figure out who he is so he can like kill him to stop him from trying to prosecute him. And then L is trying to figure out who Light is so he can prosecute him. But he doesn't know that his name is Light. The public ends up giving him the name Kira, which is Japanese for killer. At least that's one of the definitions for it. The other definition for it is Light, but which is another thing that kind of like was kind of stupid with the Light character, but we'll get into that later. But anyway, the point that I'm trying to get at is an extra 30, 40 minutes could have like helped that movie immensely. Now, I know they got a budget to go off of, and I'm willing to bet that the majority of that budget went into Ryuk, because I thought Ryuk looked fucking badass in that movie. I really liked the way they had his character designed and the way that they portrayed his character in the movie. Like, I like how he was never like fully in the shot a lot of times. He's always either like sitting back in the cut with like a shade, like a little shadow over him. Like there's never really a shot where you can see him like full on details of him. He's either like sitting back in the shadows, or he's like in broad daylight, but then he's got his back to the camera, so you like never really see his face. Like, I don't know. I thought that was very impressive what they did. I've said before that I wish that they would have just cast William Dafoe and just like dressed him up in all black and just made his eyes glow. Like I feel like they should have just did that. And by doing that, they could have saved some money, and they could have took that extra money and put it into the extra 30 or 40 minutes. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Now, since we're talking about Ryuk, let's get to the rest of the characters. Light. I did not like the actor that played Light. He was very, very distracting. I just didn't really care for his mannerisms and how like fucking doofy he was. Like, it just, I don't know. And then his hair was so distracting. Like, it was literally one of those things where like I would be looking at him and my eyes would always trail up to his hair, because he had this stupid hairstyle where he had like blonde highlights. And I'm like, why the fuck do you have blonde highlights? It was bothering me. It was really bad. I'm not exaggerating. It was horrible. Okay, even in the trailers, like I was like, that's gonna be a problem, because he just looks fucking corny as shit. But I did not like that actor that portrayed Light. The other thing is, why the fuck was his name Light? I mean, at the very least, his last name could have been Light, or like they could have made Light his nickname or some shit. But with this being an American adaptation, who the fuck names their kid Light in America? Now, we got some weird names here in our country, you know. I mean, for example, Gwyneth Paltrow has a kid named Apple, you know. But like, I feel like Light is a stretch. It's a long, long stretch, and it just did not work, and it seemed awkward, and I thought it was stupid. I mean, if you're gonna change his last name, just change his first name as well. You know, like I said, if you want to use the name Light that much, just make it a fucking nickname. It bothered me a lot. And then it was the fact that, so in the movie, when he goes on this crusade of like killing criminals, right? Obviously he's not gonna roll around saying like, "Hey, it's me, Light Turner. I'm the fucking Death Note killer." Like, no. He ended up like giving himself a name, and he gave himself the name Kira, which there's many definitions for it, but his whole thing was that it was a Japanese term for killer. So he felt like that was gonna throw off law enforcement to think that it was a person from Japan doing all the shit, right? But what Kira also means is light. It's another word for light. So I'm like, your dumbass should be able to understand that someone could be smart enough to put 2 and 2 together. Like, first of all, how fucking rare is it for someone in America to be named Light? And then you got a dude running around killing people calling himself Kira, and one of the definitions of Kira is light. Like, come on, okay? I don't mind if they made the character, like, I'm not going to say dumb, because, like, in the anime, Light Yagami is a fucking super genius, okay? But in this movie, they make him kind of more, like, street savvy, like, more street smart. Like, the only time you get a glimpse of him being somewhat smarter than normal is that he fucking does other students' homework and shit. You know what I mean? But for the most part, like, he's an average type of person for the most part. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like, that was like one of the biggest sore thumbs besides like the whole pacing of the movie. He was just another sore spot for me when it came to that movie. The girl who played Mia, I thought she was dope. I don't want to get too into it because I don't want to like give shit away, but I will say that there was something that they did with her character that did help amplify the motivations for Light's character, you know. And for people who know what I'm talking about from the source material, should be able to understand what I'm saying, but I can't really go that deep into it right now because it'll give some shit away. But I will say that I liked her performance. I liked her performance because there was a lot of times where I was just like, "You're a fucking bitch, and you need to die." But, you know, that just like added to the performance that she was giving. I thought she like played her part really well. The standout for the movie. Oh shit! What is this? Oops, my bad. Turned the wrong way. The standout for the movie was my boy Lakeith Stanfield playing L. And I told y'all from jump that he was gonna knock it out the park, and guess what? He fucking did. Yeah, I really liked his portrayal of L. Like, I thought he did a fantastic job in the movie. He was definitely like the standout. Like, I like the way Ryuk looked, but I was very impressed with his rendition of L. Let's see. The thing that like kind of that I would like nitpick just a little bit about the L character was his thing is that his quirk is that he likes sweets. He likes to eat like candy and desserts and shit. In the movie, they had him like a fucking fiend, you know what I mean? And it was weird because they did something really cool with the candy where, because the character is so like eccentric and everything and so random, that I guess like they hinted that they put sedatives in his candy to kind of like keep him calm and keep him level for the most part. And when he would eat candy, he would just like fucking gobble it up, you know? And it was just like really weird. And I know like I'm comparing it to how they do it in the anime, but in the anime he wasn't like that fucking crazy about candy to where like he just fucking like he wasn't like that. Like it was one of those things where he would casually just like fucking pop candy in his mouth. It's kind of like a fucking chain smoker, you know? But in this movie they just had him go like overboard with it, and it kind of bothered me. It's a nitpicky thing. And it brings me to another problem that I had with the movie was that the overall tone of the movie was off. You know, it had like a Sam Raimi vibe to it, where it was dealing with some serious shit, but then they also had just like these outrageous death scenes that just like would sometimes make you like bust out laughing just how it was done. And it just didn't really fit with the overall tone of the movie. And then when you factor that in with Light's doofy ass, like, and his whole like facial expressions and screaming like a little bitch and shit, it didn't really work that well, you know. And I really wish that they would have like kept a little more of a serious tone. Like if they would have just hit that mystery thriller type of tone for the movie, I think it would have went really well. It would have benefited the movie a lot if they would have hit the same tone as like The Ring, you know what I mean, with little light bits of humor. Like that would have worked, but they didn't do that. So the tone was a little off. The same with Ryuk, because like I said, as good as Ryuk looks, it's just the fact that character design I feel is so Japanese that it just doesn't fit with the overall movie, which I feel like if the movie just would have embraced its whole American adaptation and they would have just casted that as just a regular actor, just have William Dafoe in all black, you know, at the very least you could put him like in glam rock outfits and shit, give him some glowy eyes, and you're good. But like the overall like look of Ryuk just didn't fit with the movie in the finished product, so that kind of just like threw me off. Another nitpicky thing that I had too with Ryuk, I didn't like his sausage fingers. Like it was weird. You know, they only showed his hand a couple of times, but the times when they did, I was just like, I'm not digging the sausage fingers at all. But anyway, dude, overall, like I said before, the movie's okay. As long as you just view it as its own thing, just lightly compare it to the source material, it's an okay movie. There's definitely some liberties taken with it as far as like how things turn out and how the Death Note actually works and shit. There, you know, the director definitely like kind of made it into his own thing, but I was impressed how he was able to compress the story into one movie, and he did leave it open enough to where it can work as just its own thing, but he did leave it open enough to where, and he dropped a couple hints throughout the movie where it's like they could do a sequel. So hopefully that happens, because I would like to see what he does going forward, because like I said, he definitely, like, the movie starts out kind of following the source material, but like I would say maybe like a little bit before the midway point, it just kind of veers off into a whole nother direction, and then he starts pulling things from future events in the source material into this movie. So I don't know. If you're a Death Note fan, I think you should check it out regardless. Just don't compare it to the anime or you will hate it. You know what I mean? But I'd be interested to see how people who aren't aware of the source material, I'd be interested to see how they react to it, because I had my chick check it out, because she didn't know shit about Death Note. I had her check out the movie. She liked it. She just didn't like Ryuk. She said the same thing that I said, where he just doesn't fit with the overall look of the movie. But for the most part, like, she didn't mind the movie. But yeah, I definitely say check it out. And if you don't know about the source material, I'd say watch this movie first and then check out the anime, because let's face it, people, like, there's a lot of people who are never gonna watch the anime. This movie is the closest that they're gonna get to it. So I would say start them out on the movie first, and then move them over to the anime and see if they can make it through all 37 episodes. For anyone else out there who hasn't seen the live action drama show, it's on Crunchyroll, and I suggest checking it out too. They take a couple liberties here and there as well from the source material, but for the most part, it's actually a pretty decent show. Like I said, I'm only like, maybe 2 episodes in, but I'm enjoying it so far. And it kind of makes me feel like, instead of making, with the American version, instead of making a movie, I feel like they should have just made a TV series as well. But maybe their budget didn't allow them to do that. So I don't know. We'll see. But that's all I got for Death Note. Oh yeah, one more thing. I like the soundtrack too. The soundtrack was actually pretty good. They had some good musical choices in there. So but yeah, that's it for Death Note. Last up is Ingrid Goes West. So I'll keep this short and sweet, because we've been going on long enough, and there's really not much I can say about this movie. The movie is about this chick who is just really lonely, mentally unstable, and she spends her days on Instagram liking people's pictures and borderline stalking them, to the point where she will actually go and meet people in person and befriend them, right? So she ends up like having an incident. She goes to get some professional help. Some time passes. She gets out, and she comes across some chick who lives out in California, and she talks about how she wants to be friends with everybody, So she finds her on Instagram, looks at some pictures, sees that she's in California, and she moves out to California, and the adventure ensues of her trying to befriend this person. And all kinds of fucked up shit happen in between. I liked it. I really enjoyed it a lot. It was one of the movies that I was looking forward to the most this year, and it was exactly what I expected it to be, which is just this big commentary on how people are in social media nowadays. Another movie kind of tackled this subject matter as well. It was called Nerve, but they went to extremes in that movie to talk about how people act in social media, whereas this movie is a little bit more, I mean, it still kind of like gets a little dark in some places, but for the most part, it keeps it on the level as far as like how people are, like, how sensational people are nowadays, dude, where like everything's awesome, everything's great, everything's the best, this is fucking godlike, how they just throw these terms around to the point where it doesn't really mean anything anymore. Just say you like shit, okay? Stop going to the extremes to say it's the best. It's not the best, okay? Because 2 minutes later, you're going to say something else is the best. All right. So, that's the type of shit that I got. And then, you get the people on social media where like they try and act like everything is all cool, but then in real life, their life sucks and they're not who they think, or they're not who they perceive themselves to be on social media. So at the end of the day, the message is that people need to stop fronting and be real with each other and stop being so fucking fake, And the ending of the movie, I feel like just puts a bow on the entire subject. Like it sends the biggest message of all. Like it just holds up a mirror to like certain people, like these internet celebrities and shit, and the people that follow them. It just holds up a mirror to how these people are, and I was very impressed with it. But I liked it. It was good. I don't really have any kind of gripes that I can think of. It was just a good movie to sit down and watch. I'd recommend going to see it in theaters just to see something different, Aubrey Plaza is really good in it. She plays a mentally damaged person very well. She was recently in a show called Legion, where she played a fucking mental patient, and she's really good. She's really good at it. Very believable. And she's able to like switch on a dime to get like all emotional and shit. And there's scenes where she ain't caked up in makeup. There's scenes where she just looks horrid, but she sells it. Okay, and she's funny as fuck. Another person that like, or a person that like caught me by surprise in the movie was O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ice Cube's son. That dude was awesome. I don't know if it was just because he kind of reminded me of myself with his whole like obsession with Batman, but Spider-Man for me. But I don't know. I like the way his character was portrayed in the movie. Obviously he was good in Straight Outta Compton, but I feel like Straight Outta Compton, dude, like you played your dad. I mean, if you can't fucking land the role of playing your dad in an NWA movie, then maybe you don't need to be an actor, but he actually like brought it in this movie even more, like kind of like made the part his own. So it was cool, dude. And it wasn't like, I mean, you could like see hints of Ice Cube, but he kind of like had his own little flavor as well, so I think he's got a bright future ahead of him in the times to come. So, but anyway, man, that's all I got for you, dude. That's all I got for you this week. Like I said, I feel like shit. I'm about to cut this shit off, edit it together, and hopefully I can get it posted by the next day, and you can all have something to listen to for the weekend. So, you all take it easy. You be safe out there. Happy Labor Day and all that. All the victims of the flooding in Houston, you all be safe out there as well. And I hope y'all can get y'all shit back to normal as soon as possible. So, you take care. That was Movie Chewsday. Now it's just another day, and I'm out.
And it was just another day, yeah. Just another day. Until I went to the movies, and now it's a movie Tuesday. A movie Tuesday. Until a movie Tuesday.